Hey everyone, this is Bridget, and today we're going to be talking about clearing spaces. So this might be in your house, property, apartment building, whatever it is, to allow the energy to flow so you feel uplifted, inspired. So whatever else is blocking or dark or not good energies, we're going to be talking about how to clear those out. So to start, there are many different categories in which we can look at where, say, the stagnant or blocked energy could be in a actual physical space. So here's kind of a checklist of what you can tune into as to the origins as what is giving the block. It could be the land space itself, open dimensional gates, certain other energies coming through, or certain fault lines that aren't as good that are creating disturbances. It could be on a historical level, so other peoples that have been there before and crazy stuff that's happened, maybe like battles or death or suicide or burials or those kinds of things on, say, that property that you're inhabiting, which are carrying through right now, and that field is still there. It can be connected to different projections or thought forms, as well as objects, which is a very strong one as well. So we're going to be going through all these different things in the video to clarify how to go about them, and particularly around the objects, I'm going to be sharing some of my shamanic space clearing experiences. Pretty crazy experiences when I've done this in real life with people, and what has come up and why it has, so that you guys can understand how to navigate this better for yourself. I created a mini PDF based on this video that has more of the checklist. It also has a space clearing invocation that you can use and some extra tips. So if you want that, the link is down there in the comments and in the bio, so you can check that out so you can have a clear format about how to go about this clearing work. So we're really going to be looking into kind of the deeper energetic origins and how to tune into those kinds of things. The popularized and now actually very mainstream idea of like saging or Palo Santo is incredibly powerful and helpful, and in tandem with what I'm going to talk about, it'll be great. So it's not just like go sage your house and you're done. There's more to it than that, and so I wanted to bring you into the deeper levels and layers because it gets quite interesting. So first, let's go into the physical space of the house, because usually it's path of least resistance that the things are happening within the house, and then we'll go all the way to the land. So within the house itself, you have these things called 90-degree angles, and they are not our friends. They stop energy and they hold certain interdimensional energies into this dimension that might want to go out, which means it keeps energy stuck, which is not fun. And one of the things that happens, if you just kind of like think about it in this perspective, is that houses and this energy, if they're abandoned, think about an abandoned house. Instantly you kind of get like a creepy feeling, right? You're like, the energy's probably not going to be very good. The thing that brings life and clearing to a physical 90-degree angle, human-made space, is living things, is humans, is plants, is those kinds of things. When we leave, when the human leaves, other things occupy it, and there's no way for those other energies to get out. And this is one of the reasons I eventually want to get into different kind of sacred geometry, home building, things like that, so that that doesn't happen. Because when you're in nature, nature doesn't hold as many like stuck energies because it flows. So one of the things that you can quite easily do is sage and clear the corners of the house when you're doing the clearing. So now let's go into a little bit into objects, and we'll go in between house clearing and into objects. The object thing is fascinating, so I'm going to tell you a little story so that we can get a better understanding of what's going on. So about, I guess it was like 7 years ago now, I did a shamanic house clearing. I've done many other house clearings for other people and for myself, and so I've had a good amount of experience, but in this one I was with my actual teacher, and because it was supposed to be like a big one, and she needed assistance. It was like a heavy duty kind of thing, and we went to this Hollywood mansion, and it was one of, I think, 20 houses that this lady had. She was very wealthy, and the reason why that she wanted this clearing is because energy was actually manifesting. So in the form of, say, poltergeist energy, to where the non-physical energy actually physicalizes and can move things in this reality. It's that tangible. And so the maids were kind of freaking out because things were moving around in the kitchen and doors were slamming, and they knew that something was going on. So she called in us as the reinforcement. And it happened to be that this clearing was on Halloween of all days. And it's like, oh great, the veil's extra thin. And so we went into this house to find the origin of where this poltergeist energy was and where it was coming from. And so we went around, and my teacher had like the whole shamanic garb with like the veil, where you can kind of see, and she went into a trance state, and I was in my trance state, and we were going around, and there's, in the heavy duty kind of stuff, you actually like have a mirror with a candle, and like the dark energies go into the mirror and are attracted to it, and then you break the mirror and it clears it. So that's like a whole thing. But as we went around, and I did see some things actually like physically move and manifest, it was quite crazy and pretty creepy. But nonetheless, the point is that as you go into these situations, you go in with your whole team of light. So that's the first and foremost, is to not be afraid, to not be on the defense of life, kind of like, come my sage, you're kind of like scared, or like if you feel like an energy come into your space that you don't need to create paranoia or fear around this. Where you really want to come from this whole thing is in a space of commanding presence and light field. That's what you want to develop. So when we're going into the space, the first key is to actually have a dominant energy of light, so that light actually like extinguishes the dark, and just like lets it move and transform back into light, or lets it move to where it wants to come from. So we're going at this with this like, solid light. So as we go around the house, the first thing we notice, which is key for all of you guys, is that all of the huge drapes of these giant windows, like Beauty and the Beast style, are all closed. Everything's dark because she's not living there. Again, right? She's not living there. It's not uninhabited. And so these other things fester. And so the first thing is like opening all of the curtains, opening all the windows. The light can shine in. Like literally just physical light will start to balance the energy. Actually let the air flow, let the windows in, and then beginning to call in the land devas of nature, inviting them into the space. Just that alone really starts to move things along. And of course we're saging and doing all the other stuff, like making sounds, like there's, sound therapy actually transmutes those energies as well. So you could do like singing bowl or rattles, those kinds of things to help move the vibration of the energy in the space. So we're going about it. And then we get she has like all these crazy antiques. And one of them is this freaking coat of arms from the medieval times. And first of all, the question is like, why would you have a coat of arms from the medieval times? Like a real one. Like one that probably killed hundreds, if not thousands of people. And that was the first place that we found that all of the energy was coming from. It was that there were probably hundreds of thousands of actually dead, trapped, disincarnate souls that were held in the object. So, you can get like possession, like physical possession, like people can get that, which I talk about in my ghost stories video. But actual objects can hold death and can hold spirits. It's crazy, right? Yeah. And so what we did is we opened this like tunnel, this channel to the light, and let all of them move through into the light, because that had never happened before. And part of this whole thing is just acknowledging what is. And this is why, instead of being blind to it and going, I say that it's clear, and holding your torch sage like the Statue of Liberty and just kind of not allowing yourself to feel it, it's really important to allow yourself to feel these things, and so that you can understand where they're coming from, so that you can acknowledge them, so that they can really move, rather than it just being a band-aid on the subject. So we opened this portal, and all the energies moved into the light, and it's an instant illumination of the space. It's just like, it's not that stagnant, sticky kind of energy. Oh, wow. I just remembered this whole other one. We were in this place in Ojai that shall not be named. It was some kind of like esoteric place, definitely used for dark rituals, and we we were looking at different spaces to rent out, retreats and stuff. And this was a while back. And we walked into the room and it was like, super the creepiest thing I'd ever experienced. It was like this waft, thousands of like spirits and entities that were like held in this room. It was very clear that like dark, creepy magic ceremony had taken place there. Ugh. And so that's part of it too, is sometimes these people or whatever can like hold these beings trapped consciously and then use them, and then they fester, and then it manifests as this negative thing. So anyways, in the other story, we moved through this energy and it lightened up, and it was just like, yes, these energies didn't want, that's the thing. If they start getting to that point, they like are wanting to go back to the light. So then anyways, we kept on going through the house, and we ended up in her vault, which had, again, like 3 medieval swords, which again had killed lots of people and were holding all kinds of energy. And I've been to like other people's houses with antiques, Cambodian princess hats from 1,000 years ago and stuff. And it's not to say you can't have antiques, or even just new things that are like chests from Indonesia, but maybe someone died in it, so like in the making of it, things like that. So just being really aware as you're working with objects, not that everything has to be new, but really tuning into it. And if you are going to bring it into your space, to really clear it out. And so I say all this acknowledging piece, not only for objects, but when you're actually in the living space of being where you are, being aware of what has happened, and if you don't feel anything, then that's fine. And just, clean and clear it up as best as you can, understanding the entities and like, more energies, they hide in dust and they hide in dirtiness, they hide in clutter, like those kind of things manifest not so good of energies. And so just literally cleaning, literally moving out stuff that you don't use anymore is going to be really helpful. And then if you do feel something, again, maybe just on the level of someone that maybe had died in that house, or something that had happened, just let it be like a thing that you let yourself experience. And then it can move to light, and just literally opening up the space to source, knowing that you're totally taken care of, and just ushering that spirit, because it might just not know. And this can happen, I cleared my mom's apartment in Los Angeles, and she was not quite into this yet. She was not believing that this existed, but she moved into a new place, and I was like, this is great, And it was the first person that had lived there in 7 years that wasn't this other guy. And before that, someone had died. And so she was the first new tenant in 7 years. And so one of the things that can happen in that space is that you're like a new energy. And so if there's non-physical energies, they can be like disrupted and kind of be like irritated, Someone moved into your bedroom and you were on the bed, you'd be probably kind of irritated. So in that space, you're kind of like, what is going on? I think that we need to clear the space. And she was like, no, I don't think we do. I'm like, well, that's fine. Everyone has their free will. And that's the thing too, is that if it's not your space, whether it's a long-term kind of stay, or somewhere you own, you have to ask for permission. You can't just go around clearing necessarily everything, because there's a reason for it. And the people that are interacting or maybe own that space, they need that lesson. Or some people actually like spirits around, which is kind of weird. They actually know that they're in their house and they don't want to feel alone, and so they have these non-physical energies rather than actually having bright energies of like their guides and angels. They might not feel of the frequency or worthy of receiving to feel that brighter energy of their true like source nature, and so they have these other energies that they keep around. Very interesting. That's a whole interesting psychological discussion. Anyways, so back over to my mom's house. So then we went out to dinner, one night, a week later or something, and she's like, my back keeps on going out, and her back, hadn't gone out in quite a few years. Every night when I go to sleep, it's out. And when we came back from dinner, and there were these giant mirrors covering this whole wall. It almost looked like a dance studio or something. And one had fallen all the way off the wall, and it didn't break, luckily. And then she had like a lemon tree, and that had fallen over, and just you walked in and the place was in complete disarray. And she was like, whoa, okay, what's happening here? Are you okay if I facilitate this situation? And she was like, yeah. And so I sat there, tuned in, and I knew that it was this man that had passed. This was his apartment. He had never transitioned. He got comfortable with the other guy that was living in there, and my mom had disrupted that. And so I sat there and was like, yo, like, you're dead. And just very, very calmly, and was like kind of ushering the situation. And he was kind of pissed at first. Like, that's often our first response. So not always, but a lot of the time. And I was just like holding the space. I'm like, it's okay. You just freak out. It's fine. And freaking out. And then finally it was like, okay, it's time to leave. And so I assisted him. And then he left, and she kind of fixed things up. Her back issues went away, and everything was fine after that. And the back issues is coming from this place that, and I talk about this in my ghost stories video, that entities can kind of try and like get in or be around you. And that can happen if you're just kind of not on it, or if one's kind of mad. It's like a very rare situation that'll happen unless you're on drugs, or you're in like a really traumatic situation. But other than that, you're fine. Like, you don't need to worry about it. So anyways, the entity had messing with her, and that's one of the things that threw out her back, because it was all in tandem with this. So very interesting. So that's on that level. And I could just talk about these stories forever. Oh, there's these spirits that come around the house. Oh, you live on the land of the Salem witch trials. Okay, interesting. These things, and especially, I prefer it out west because there's less human history, whereas in like Europe, it's just crowded interdimensionally. But nonetheless, it's a really great experience to just kind of go in there and see what's going on. Now, note that all of these are kind of on a lower frequency bandwidth. And so if you don't perceive them and it's not a thing for you, like, don't worry about it. Don't go seek it. Stay in your high vibration. And honestly, when you embody and you kind of take over, but in this light filled space, the other energies will just move out for the most part. So that's really what you're wanting to do. And so just kind of like look through those layers of, is it, objects or dirtiness in the house? Did you go around and did you sage like, every corner and clean and clear things out? Is there history that needs to be looked at, whether it's native things that went on, the thought projections and negative things like that can be like certain people maybe have lived in the space or lived on the land, and there's a certain kind of program or certain story in the astral field. And so if you tune into that, or if you start hearing this like kind of repetitive thing that's different than what you would think, again, you can just kind of be aware of it and then let it go. And so these are where we're wanting to really start at. And the point is that you can do it. So just by entering that space of fullness and embodiment and the light in your connection with source and your guides and angels, a lot of this is just cleared up on its own. And acknowledging that there is other dimensions, and not to have to be scared of it, but to really look at it. And when you look at it, then it can move. So that would be the idea. So if you want more of like an invocation to do in your space or extra tips, definitely go check out my PDF that's in the link in the description for free for you guys. And there are so many all the way. There are so many also, crystals and plants and all these kinds of things that you can use to facilitate this. And I'm all about that. You're the primary tool. All right. You don't have to give your power away to those other things. They are facilitators. They're helpers of you. And I'm going to be getting into crystals here, a crystal video here in the next few weeks or month, because some of them, might not be the best in understanding them a bit more. But a great place to start is plants. And as I've talked about, like sage and Palo Santo, I'm like all about that. Even essential oils really move energy. And San Pedro, for instance, is a very protective plant, like rosemary. There's so many different kind of plants that you can get that their field also protects and kind of cleanses the field, which is really amazing. Not only like the actual oxygen in the room, taking out the bacteria and stuff like that, but actually the interdimensional energy too, because that's one of the things that they navigate. So play with the plants as well. There's so much that we can do. This is just a first conversation. The point is like to open the conversation and to not be scared, but to actually look at it and know that it's going to be fine, and that in most cases you're just talking to people that just don't have bodies anymore. So I hope that this has been helpful. This is one of the things requested from Instagram. I do polls on what kind of videos I should do, so go check me out on Instagram for more daily updates. If you like videos like this, please subscribe, hit the bell button so you get notifications of when new ones come out, hit the like button. Let me know what works for you, what you've done to clean and clear your space so that you feel inspired and invigorated wherever you are. So comment that below, and I will see you next week with another video. Thanks for watching.